I'm Brian Helmick, class of 2005, founder of Algentis, which is an HR technology platform particularly focused on early stage companies. And I've been blessed to say that 6 months ago we sold the company. I think for me, and this is, my humble opinion, is that luck plays actually a huge role in the entrepreneurial process. I think a lot of people like to be somewhat guarded around ideas or strategies, or even talking about things being in stealth. My approach is the complete opposite. I was very much of, I'll tell everybody and their grandmother what is going on. So my philosophy is I can't control luck, but I can fan the flames of luck. So there's so many situations where I look back and I said, if I hadn't had that conversation with that one random person that ended up 3 or 4 steps later kind of leading to an introduction, a strategic partnership. So I'm a big fan of fanning the flames of luck. I think there are plenty of skills that are really helpful, but if I had to pick, traits that are helpful to be an entrepreneur, I'd say it's definitely grit. So that perseverance, that willingness to stop at nothing to get something done. I'd say it's humility, because I think with humility you tend to be more open, you tend to be more flexible, you'll listen because you'll need to adapt many times. And maybe empathy. Empathy, I think, is at least in my humble opinion, has been really helpful, because when you have empathy, you can put yourself in other people's shoes, whether that's a customer, whether it's that first employee that you're trying to hire, whether it's that investor that needs to write that big check. So I'd say it's those 3 traits that I think at least have helped me. I think in the world of starting companies, you often have a prior relationship with people that you bring into the company. There's one case which, he was a classmate of mine who joined probably 3 or so years after we started the company. And he's a close personal friend, to the point where his first child is my goddaughter. So incredibly close. And as we were talking about, joining together from a professional perspective, there were some serious kind of personal discussions there. I had not only with him, but also with his wife. I mean, his wife even said, Brian, we're friends first. And I said, absolutely. I said, but you're also the godfather of Savannah. And I said, absolutely. And I said, let's figure out what are some ground rules to have some really open communication, to make sure that we have alignment of vision, alignment of goals. And we also spend a lot of time talking about how are we going to deal when things don't work out? How are we going to deal when we're upset with each other, to make sure it doesn't kind of creep over on the personal side? And I have to say it's not always easy, and it requires a tremendous amount of trust and open dialogue. But I feel very, very blessed to say that my relationship with Michael Keck, who's a good classmate of mine and personal friend, has actually, if anything, grown stronger. The reality is that when you think of HR, whether it's related to hiring people, whether it's related to establishing the culture of the company, it really is going to come from the founders and management team. Whatever their personalities have in terms of traits, that's going to bleed into the entire culture of the company. So if the founders are people that rise really early and are in the office by 5 a.m., that's setting the tone for other employees. So recognizing that and saying, all right, what is the type of organization that I'm trying to build, and how are my traits going to be helpful to that? In some cases, how are my traits going to be kind of counterproductive to that? So being thoughtful about that in the long run has been helpful, but also empowering people. I spend many times telling people, this is your company. You are going to spend the majority of your waking hours here. So tell me, how do you want this? So creating a culture, for at least it was really important in our case, of very open dialogue, open feedback, to make sure that everybody always felt comfortable. I'll give you a simple example. When we first started the company, we had a little water cooler with cups, and I jumped on Costco, ordered the cheapest cups I could find, and a bunch of these red Solo cups. And one of our employees said, hey, I know you said you want open feedback, but these red Solo cups looks like it's a frat party in here. Even though there's no beer in the cups, but it's all a bunch of water. I'm like, that's a really good point. Guess what? I said, take care of it. Next order, there were clear cups. So those are the type of examples that you can do very early on, but you gotta, if you're gonna say it, then you gotta live by it as well. If I had to simplify things, I'd say it falls into 3 categories. It's time, people, and money. From a time perspective, time is the most valuable resource an entrepreneur has. Where you spend your time, how you prioritize actions, how you look at your week and you say, all right, here are the 6 things that I have to get done this week. Now, which 3 am I not going to get done? Because there's going to be surprises along the way. On the people side, it's who you choose as a co-founder. It's who you hire. It's how you hire, manage, and fire people to build that rock star team. And the last thing is money. You need to have enough capital, but not too much capital. You need to have capital from the right people. You need to constantly balance the ratio of fundraising versus operating, and that can be a delicate balance. So I think it's one of those things where there's going to be no shortage of challenges. In fact, one of the best piece of advice that I received was, if you're not ready to be uncomfortable, you're not ready to be an entrepreneur. So it shouldn't be a question of if there's going to be challenges. It's just a question of what challenges are going to show up this week.